feels like cheating, doesn't it? Live action video game adaptations are, let's just say, not the best. You could probably even say they suck. And you know what? I kinda get it. Cause how do you make a movie slash TV adaptation of a medium that is so tied to the fact that you are interacting with it? It almost sounds like an impossible task. I mean, from all those adaptations, you can kinda see that Hollywood doesn't treat slash didn't treat video games as a serious medium, and also they weren't making it easier to themselves by only choosing games that basically base all of their power in gameplay. You know, Uncharted, Mortal Kombat, Tomb Raider, Resident Evil, Assassin's Creed, Max Payne, Doom, Tekken, and so on and so forth. So choosing to adapt a game like The Last of Us, where the gameplay was always kinda the weak link and bases most of its power on the story and the characters, feels a little bit like an easy way out, only to me. When I first heard that the show is coming, I was completely indifferent. But then I saw the showrunning duo that will be the writer and the director of the games and the showrunner of Chernobyl, and I got a little bit excited. And then I saw the casting choices and I was like, can this actually be great? Is it? Let's see. So let's ask the most important question. Does this show work on its own, or is it just a video game add-on, not much of a series itself? Well, I'm happy to report that it is a retelling of the story of the first game, but standing on its own two legs. This show isn't just, let's just show the story exactly as it was in the games and call it a day. This is its own spin on the story from the video game. They add some stuff, they change some stuff, so while it stays at its core, The Last of Us 1, they tell it in a different way and put emphasis on different parts of the story, and all of those changes could have been just cosmetics, so they wouldn't really matter in the big picture, but they are all done with a purpose. They change how some story elements have been resolved, they add important characters, they change some important characters, all to put more emphasis on the parts of the story they think are important, so that not only the new viewers can watch this story with excitement, but also the fans of the games something completely new to watch. And you know what? I think this story works much better in the TV show format. I mean, I like the story of the first game, but the flow, pacing, and the way you get to experience this world, I think works much better in the TV show. This is an excellent story that was told in my opinion, better way than it was in the games. Also, the few scenes slash whole sequences that add a lot to this story. Some of them from the beginning of the pandemic, some of them to add some context to the characters, some of them just to add more punch to the ending, some of them add a lot to the world and the fact that everybody and everything in this world has its own story. The fact that after killing hundreds of enemies in the game was, let's just say, a bit non-present. There is much less zombies and less fights overall. And I think it works within this show very well. A, it adds to this false sense of security, and B, in this show it just would be unnecessary time filler. You needed many fights in the games cause you needed gameplay, and it was the core of it, and you don't really need it in this series, especially looking at the fact that it already takes its sweet time with everything, which definitely isn't a bad thing. I really like how the show is paced, and I think it works much more with the older, more tired version of Joel that is in this show compared to the games. So yeah, on the story side, this is beyond amazing still. But what about the characters? Well, again, good news. Characters are still some of the best you can find in any medium. The two main stars of the show, Joel and Ellie, are still one of the best duos that we ever got anywhere. Their interactions, their dialogues, their progression, and the way they impact each other is some of the best and the most engaging characters I have ever seen. And I think Joel works much better in the show compared to the games. They made him much more human here. He is much more of a tragic character character than he was in the games, which in my opinion adds a lot of good in favor of the show. You understand him, but more importantly, you feel sorry for the guy, and you understand his decisions and the way he acts much more. When in the games, again, after killing hundreds of enemies, you kinda forgot about the whole tragedy of the character. And adding the Joel is old spin on the story in the show works because A, you wouldn't need this many encounters, B, you kinda understand more why he doesn't really want to do it at first. And obviously a lot of credit has to be given to the actors. Why I love Pedro Pascal as Joel and the way he tackled this version of the character. He really did a hell of a job. This is a Bella Ramsey show from top to bottom. I saw them in his Dark Materials and it felt like I was watching a future superstar of Hollywood, but I sure as fuck wasn't expecting this. They are amazing. Like, for real. The humor, the emotion, the unhinged part of the character, and just selling Ellie some ridiculous, in a good way, dialogue bits and acting like a child who has to at the same time act like a grown-up because of the circumstances. It's all literally perfect. Bella stole every single scene they were in, like it was nobody's business. I don't think I have seen such a star-making performance since, I don't know, Breaking Bad maybe? I could sit here till the morning and praise Bella Ramsey in this show. I honestly think this is better version of Ellie than the game. Yes, I said it. But how about the rest of the characters? Are they also good? Well, yeah, they are at least as good as the games, or in some cases even better. I don't want to talk that much about them because I think it's the best if you see them without the knowledge what awaits you in that department. I will just say some of my favorites are Henry and Sam, David, Tommy, aka the perfect casting, and also Bill and Frank. I'm only a little bit disappointed that they changed Bill's character and story so much, because I wanted to see Nick Offerman as the completely unhinged paranoid madman that Bill was in the games, but at the same time Bill and Frank got one of the best episodes, so I can't really complain. But how does the show translate from the video games to the television show as an experience in terms of the world and exploring it? I think this is the biggest improvement. In the game, the world looked massive, but because the maps were limited, it felt pretty closed off. In the show, they fixed that problem. This world looks massive and feels massive. Didn't matter if it was a city with empty skyscrapers or some random woods in the middle of nowhere. Everything was shown like it was a massive space ready to explore for our main characters. The directing and camera work were also top notch, showing you the beauty in the disaster, showing the fights, or just showing two people talking. Everything was done just the way it should be. The pacing of the show is also kinda perfect. It was slow, but it was slow in the exact right way, where it didn't feel like they were stalling for time and taking too long to do anything, but give you, the viewer, a lot of time to sink everything in. The visuals are also amazing. The environments look so good. It's unreal. So at the end of the day, is this show good? For me, this is a contender for show of the year. A very strong one at that. Everything in this show feels just perfect, both as a standalone TV series and a video game adaptation. It feels like they wanted to make an improved version of the first The Last of Us, and I think they actually succeeded. If you have HBO Max, watch it yesterday. 11 out of 10. But now we do have a wee bit of a problem. The Last of Us 1 seemed like a pretty easy job, let's be honest. Now they announced Season 2 and basically announced Season 3 details. Now they have to make an adaptation of one of the most infamous games in terms of its stories. Now you have to adapt this. Good fucking luck.